Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. I am Ashley Nicole Moss, and I got my guy, NBA insider Bill Ryder, with me. Bill, what
Let's
did you do
go.
yesterday with
What did I do?
no basketball going on?
So I grilled a steak. My daughter wanted steaks.
Oh,
Made some potato gratin. Is that how I say it right? I'm not fancy like
yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
something like that.
What else? A little asparagus. Maybe open some wine.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up steak because in the newsroom, down here in Fort Lauderdale, we actually were polling the newsroom on how do you like your steak. Now,
Okay.
it is a legend. It's not really a legend, it's more of a fact that black people like their steaks medium well. You get everything out of there. People think that's psychotic. So we took a poll to
Okay.
see if that held true. It did for almost all the black people in the studio. They went medium well. Medium rare was actually the steak though that won. How do you like your steak? No, sorry, medium what no, medium rare was the steak that actually
Yeah.
won. So how do you take your
Medium
steak?
rare. Medium rare
Oh,
every time. Little bloody. Oh yeah, a little pink in there. Yeah.
ew.
Yeah. I love it so much.
I said I can do
Oh,
medium.
my mouth
I
is
can
watering.
do if my dad makes it, he usually makes it medium well though on the grill. He doesn't
Okay.
get everything out. But if I go to a restaurant and it's like Kobe beef or if it's like Wagyu, I usually always do medium because that's the best way to eat it. I can't do medium rare.
So it
I
depends
can't.
on the cut, right? So I made flank steak last night with a pepper encrusted sort of thing going on, and you just a ton of pepper and salt for an hour, and it just sits out at room temperature.
Okay.
I made it medium rare last night. I made it medium well last week, and I think
Okay.
we might have liked that better. But if it's a fillet, I want it to bleed on the plate. I do. Um,
Our
by the way,
producer, our producer
yeah,
Aaron hopped in the discussion and said depends on the cut, but medium rare, medium only. Filet should be
should
rare.
be
You guys
rare.
are disgusting. Ew.
By the way, I also watch Bridgerton. My wife makes me watch Bridgerton, which we. So
Okay.
are you a Bridgerton person?
So I watched Bridgerton only the season one with the Duke, and then when he left, they lost me.
You were out when the Duke left. You were done.
Yeah,
I was
when the
like
Duke
MJ.
ditched the show, I said, "Okay, well, Ashley's not coming back." So
All right, that's like MJ retiring. Season two, there's some rough moments, but then they figure it out. And some other, I'm telling you, it's worth. It's a
really,
very guilty. Yeah, yeah. Season three's good. See, yes, yeah,
but I
yeah,
wonder, like, do I have to watch two to be prepared for three?
yeah. A little bit. The season two's fine. All the
Mhm.
guilty pleasures are there, so there's those things are.
Yeah,
My
there's no
wife
Duke, which
loves
means
Bridgerton.
no Ashley. But I don't know.
I
Maybe I'll
got
take
it.
your
By the
word
way,
for it.
that's not just you. That's a lot of people.
It's a
Are
lot
like,
of
I'm out.
people, right? He's on to
I'm,
doing bigger and better things. I'm not mad at him. Speaking of bigger and better things, game 5 tonight goes down 8:30 my time, Eastern time, and it's in Minnesota. And we were talking about the Mavs and how hard it is to close out games, win 4 games in a row, and how sometimes the pressure to do that makes it easier for the team that's on the verge of elimination. The Wolves stay alive to fight another day. That day is now today. What are you expecting from this game? And then we'll dive into some of the latest news and things that we have about this matchup.
so look, I know that Dallas is probably going to win. Right, you're up
Okay.
3-1. This isn't rocket science. I'm starting to talk myself into a path forward for Minnesota, though. Can I give
Okay.
you my maybe I'm crazy. I did this on the radio show today, and my producer over there thinks I've lost my mind. Can I give you my recipe for
Yeah,
why I
go
think
ahead.
Minnesota can win this? And you can tell me if I'm like Bridgerton without the Duke. It's
Yes.
so I've lost it. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So first of all, these have all been close games, and obviously Minnesota's only been able to win one of them. But like in the Pacers series, this is a team that's good enough. They're clearly good enough to beat Dallas. They've been in every one of these games. That's one. Anthony Edwards has not played amazing basketball. I think he was better in game 4, right? You
Yeah,
thought he was
for
better?
sure.
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
he was
yeah.
better, more aggressive, but he was 11 of 25. So you go home, you have an more efficient, more productive Anthony Edwards. I know he almost had a triple-double. Cat found his shooting groove. Now, I'm not sure that's going to last, but if you can get some offense from Cat, because he's been awful at times in this
Yeah.
postseason, and then that defense we saw, I think John made this point, they held Dallas to 100 points in the last game. So that's a recipe for that team to play well. And on the other side, this is amazing to me. Aaron pointed this out, our producer. Luka's actually a box score plus minus negative. I think they're minus 10 with him on the floor in this series. We've seen Luka in the
Mm.
past. I mean, he is getting rid of the James Harden label that people like me thought maybe could apply. but you got to win before that's done. He's certainly capable of having a 9 for 23 outing. I think that if Minnesota can win tonight, good game from Anthony Edwards, better game. Keep doing what he's been doing. Cat makes some shots. That defense played better. I think the momentum shifts so aggressively going back to Dallas in a game 6 that all of a sudden the pressure's on. Lucas starts to press, doesn't move the ball. I could see it avalanching the other way.
It's a possibility. I mean, they do say statistically, we have the numbers to back it up. Right. That usually the team that's leading 3-0 in a series and loses game 4, the game to go ahead and close it out, most of the time wins game 5. But we have seen other series be pushed to 7 games, even when a 3-0 lead is present. So it's not impossible. The big thing we have coming out or ahead of today's game, rather, Derek Lively II is questionable for tonight, which for me is insane. So I saw the video of him in warmups, shoot around, circulating social media earlier today. And it was amazing to me to see him out there because we spoke about this yesterday on the show. There were moments where the camera panned to him on the Mavs bench and he's like twisting his neck around,
like grabbing his
visibly
neck.
in pain. And also like kind of squinting, which I know they said he doesn't have a concussion, but I wonder if there's some light sensitivity because of like where he was hit, how hard he was hit. It's interesting to me because I know I said after that, little tidbit, I would be surprised if he came back in this series. Obviously, he provides a lot of size. He's a huge aspect for this team, especially when it comes to the glass and getting those second and third chance opportunities. But I don't know. I'm kind of like nervous that he's questionable. I'm kind of nervous that I saw him shooting. He did not look like comfortable in that last game on the bench.
So the thing about having a 3-1 series lead is you don't have to panic. You don't have to rush him back. If it were the other way around and Dallas were down 3-1, I could say, okay, we need him out there. He's been important to what we do. All the things you said, rim protection, energy, right? You're up 3-1. And so I don't know. I don't know his medical status or situation. I'm with you. When they panned to him in the last game, I had the same reaction. I thought, this dude doesn't look right. This guy do you ever like go to sleep and wake up and your neck's just killing you? And that's what he looked like. He looked like a guy that slept on his neck wrong.
Moving in. And then kind of squinting and like
just squinting. I didn't even think
uncomfortable, which is like you wonder because so much of his game is so physical and dominant on the glass. Like I mentioned, you see him going up, getting those 50-50 balls. You see him kind of fighting down low in the paint to go ahead and kick the ball out to Kyrie, PJ, Luka, whoever. I wonder how comfortable, if he was that uncomfortable on the bench, how could you even expect a fraction of what he gives to you completely healthy, fresh off of what was a very scary injury at the time or just collision at the time?
Not knowing his medicals, not knowing if he's made a miraculous recovery. I'm with you. I'm not rushing him. There is a worry if you lose this game about momentum, but whatever. If you lose, you're still up 3-2. You still have 2 more bites at the apple to make the NBA Finals. Yes. Get him out there. Let him warm up. Let him do his thing. I'm being so cautious that it's very. I'm with you, Ash. I'm probably not playing him in this game. There's no need to.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Minnesota has a fun fan base. They have an exciting fan base, a fan base that's excited about this team. Alex Rodriguez is there front and center, still trying to make us believe he owns the team. He does not.
He does not. Not yet.
Is that not weird to anybody else that he's there courtside, dapping up the players, celebrating with the players? Like, you don't own the team. How was he even allowed in the building? That would
Do you know what it reminds me of? So when I went to prom, both times I went to prom in high school, class of 96, Wahlert High School, Dubuque, Iowa. Both times there were guys that would show up who had graduated like a year or 2 earlier. And it was just like, hey man, like, aren't you in college? What do you don't really belong here, but I know how you got in. That's what it just feels kind of awkward and sad. I'll say this. There's going to be a lawsuit, right? There is a huge disagreement between the two would-be ownership groups. And it's going to probably be settled in the courts because there's a disagreement about whether or not A-Rod's group crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. So I understand why he is showing up, but I think, dude, just show up. Don't sit in the front row. Sit somewhere in a luxury suite where they have to find you and pan you. He looks a little too what's the word I'm looking
thirsty?
For? I was going to say thirsty, but I didn't want to say thirsty. Yeah.
He looks like, you know what he looks like also? I don't know if you see these videos that come out sometimes from the Celtics organization and they're there in practice or shoot around. Here comes Paul Pierce. It's like, bro, you're 50. Leave us alone. Okay, it's like that guy who
I want
like
Paul
you
Pierce to
said,
leave us alone all the time,
graduated
though.
and keeps coming back to his high school team and just or his college team. It's like, bro, like it's
Right.
been 20 years. Like, leave us
Dude,
alone.
you can't wear the Letterman jacket after you graduate. I mean, I'm
It
glad
stops
you
it
earned
stops
it.
fitting after a while.
Keep it in the closet, man. Yeah. It's funny, though, because like part of the reason A-Rod, too, is around, he wants to own the team. The Timberwolves have been a joke forever, and now they're shiny. Even down 3-1,
Yeah.
you want to be associated with that because
I don't
whatever.
listen. I don't blame him, but it is a little weird because at
Yeah,
least when Mark Cuban did it, he actually owned the team. Just saying.
fair,
So,
fair.
but we keep talking about the Mavs and the Wolves, and rightfully so. It's been an exciting series and our non-sweep series. Thankful to the basketball gods for not giving us 2 sweeps in the conference finals. But the conversation of Luka and Kyrie has been circulating this whole postseason, but specifically during this series as closers, as duos, as one of the best duos maybe to ever play the game. I mean, they're being compared that backcourt with, Stephen
Yeah.
Clay, Magic and Byron Scott, Ginobili and Parker. I mean, they're being compared to some really big names. So it had us wondering if you can compile a list of all-time top 5 clutch duos. So it could be front court, back court, doesn't matter. But
Okay.
all time, who would you trust the most? Series on the line, game on the line.
Yes.
These 2 guys are on the court at the same time, along with 3
Clutch
other
duo.
guys. But this specific duo, you put the
Okay.
fate of your organization in their hands when it means the most. So let's go ahead and break this down.
All right. So I did clutch duo. Now, this is funny because my wife, Lori, gets so mad at me because I love ranking things. I want to rank
Okay.
when we travel, I want her to rank the top 5 meals we've had, the
You
top
rank your
5.
kids?
Yes, 1 and 1. Love them both exactly the same. My son Henry asks me every day if I love him more than his sister. And I say, I love you both more than anybody in the world. So I love ranking stuff. So, all right, I'm going to give you my top 5 in order. This was really hard, though, so you can definitely help me
Okay.
fix it, pick it apart. Can I give you my top 5 and then some of the names that came close and I didn't put on there?
Okay, are you going 5 to 1 or 1 to 5? You
You
going
tell
5
me.
to
It's
1? Let's go
whatever you
5
want.
to 1. Let's save the best for
Oh,
last.
all right. So this
All right.
is duos to your exactly what you said. You got to win a game, so it's duos all time. But there's a clutch factor that gets incorporated into this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is really really hard. All right, number 5. I got Kareem and Magic.
Ooh.
I got Kareem and Magic. Now the thing is, the eras are different, right? Because today
Right.
you're really thinking about maybe a guy hitting a 3-point shot or you think about
Right.
Luke but a different era. But
But back then,
back then I got Kareem, man, so easy to forget. For a lot of old heads, he's the best of all time, right?
yeah.
A lot of people, this whole LeBron Jordan, they're like, whatever, those are 2. That's an argument about 2 and 3. So I got Kareem and Magic at number
Okay.
5. At number 4, this was really hard. And this really goes to 2002. I've got Kobe and Big Shot Bob. I want Robert Ory on this list. Because like sometimes the duo's got like a Robin,
Ooh.
right? Sometimes Robin's got to save the day in one of the battles that Batman's in. Because Big Shot,
Interesting.
because he had
I'm
Ory had
surprised you
so
didn't go
many
like
shots.
Kobe and Gasol and Pau Gasol or
Thought
Kobe and
about it.
Shaq.
That was
That's an
like
interesting one.
I went Kobe and Big Shot Bob. All right, because I really tried to like get like game on the line, fourth quarter, even in
Okay.
some case, like maybe Kobe's carrying it for 11 minutes of the quarter, and then Bob hits a couple. Big Shot Bob hits a couple shots. All right, this is where it gets really tough. Then I went because you and I are both big Kyrie fans. I've never said anything bad about Kyrie in my life.
Mhm.
LeBron and Kyrie at 3.
That Cleveland duo was special.
Right? Can I
That
make a
was
quick argument for it?
okay.
The year, so like I'm doing this based on era too. You had to play together 2 you were at the time. The Cleveland duo that won, Kyrie hit that big shot when Steph didn't. But also the year before when
Mhm.
Kyrie was hurt, LeBron had the best, I think, NBA Finals in history, and they
Mhm.
lost. So like that, like it's that LeBron and Kyrie. All right,
Yeah, it's probably my favorite LeBron.
is
And
it
yeah, I wouldn't say is it my favorite Kyrie? I really like this
Cleveland
version
LeBron?
of
I like
I
this.
really like Cleveland
Me
LeBron
too.
the second time around is my favorite LeBron.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's is it my favorite Kyrie? I feel like
I don't think it
Kyrie
is.
remained kind of I'm torn between Kyrie now and Kyrie then, but yeah, like
Yeah, that's a good combo, right?
Yeah, it's a good combo. I like that one. Okay.
This next one, number 2, I'm going to defend it with the guy that I just mentioned, LeBron James, once told me he thought Bird was the third best player of all time and the most clutch player of all time. And we had a
Okay.
little on TV interview. So if you don't like this, get Matt LeBron if you're watching or
Okay.
you're listening. I got Larry Bird. I mean, people forget like how just cold blooded he was. And again, I'm gonna throw Danny Ainge on there with him. I was trying to figure out it doesn't like who you pair him with, and producer
Mm-hmm.
Aaron pointed out Ainge was a killer, not a star
Mm-hmm.
at the level of LeBron, Magic, Kareem, the guys in this list. And then number 1, it's Michael Jordan, and who gives a bleep? Doesn't matter. If you want
Jordan
to
and
name,
Pippen.
yeah, it don't matter.
Jordan and
I mean, I think I might put Steve Kerr on there because Kerr hit
yeah.
some big shots, but you could throw silly John Paxson. I mean, it doesn't.
I'm actually surprised, and I'm sure Aaron will have something to say about this. Our producer Aaron, who's a diehard Warriors fan, no Stephen Clay.
So, okay, so here are my honorable mentions. Yeah, it's a
What?
good call because that's one of them. I want Stephen Clay. So some of it is they didn't get the time for me to win enough championships together because of
Okay.
Durant. Because I don't credit Clay, I credit Steph alone for the 4th ring. And then
Mm-hmm.
I think Durant. This is a different topic, but I think Durant is the Boston Celtics of this year of players. Overwhelmingly amazing, overwhelming talent. I don't know that he's as clutch as people think. I don't
That's a take.
compared to this list. So
Okay.
I've got Stephen Clay on honorable mention. So this is hard. Somebody from the Spurs had to be on here, but there's such a Duncan and Kawhi, which is really just 1 year when Kawhi was the
Interesting.
youngest Finals MVP ever,
Mm-hmm.
and Timmy Duncan is Tim Duncan, and then I've actually got LeBron and Ray Allen on here from the Miami.
Over
Were they?
Bron and Wade?
Yeah, because Wade
Oh.
started to fade a little bit, and LeBron won what? He won the 2 in the middle.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way it was great, but I think that was mostly LeBron by the third finals and the second win. And remember, Ray Allen hit that shot, sort of
Yeah,
like
from the
corner
corner
it.
through
Yeah,
game six.
so
Yeah. I'm
I don't know.
surprised you took Tim Duncan Kawhi over Parker Ginobili.
I think that's the point that I think Aaron made. I think you may be right. Would you
Like,
bump anybody from my top 5? Because I'm
I
not mad about the Spurs getting
probably
on
would
there.
have to put. I love Kawhi. I'm sorry. I love LeBron, Kyrie. Love that. I'd probably bump Ray Allen, LeBron.
He's not top 5 though.
Oh, he's
I
not
went
top
top
five. That was
LeBron,
honorable mention.
Kyrie, Kareem, Magic. This is in order: Kobe, Ori, Bird, Ainge, Jordan, and anybody on Earth.
Dang, it's a
It's
good
hard,
list.
right? It's a good
Yeah.
list.
I don't know, but I'm more of like a prisoner of the moment. So I'd probably
I,
go with the guys that I saw. So I'd
I get
probably
it.
put like Stephen Clay in there. Um, Aaron's saying he can make a case for Bosh Ray Allen because
Stop it,
Bosh
Aaron.
had the offensive rebound, which passed that to Ray Allen, who then hit the
Oh,
corner 3 in game 6.
Chris Bosh is the nicest person I've ever covered. He
Yeah.
did me 2 major solids once when I would have gotten in trouble with my bosses. In fact, one of them was the last time he played because he at an All-Star game was really sweet, kind, gave me some time, and then with his heart condition had to retire. But that dude had 0 points in the last game in the finals.
You know what I'm surprised is not on your list? Chris Paul. You didn't want to
I
put Chris
mean,
Paul
come on.
in?
I'm being
Rob
so
Peter
nice.
Chris Paul?
It's funny. He actually can be clutch back in the day. But you got to win a ring, right? You have to because. By the way, this underscores for me. You cannot put Luka and Kyrie. Like when Stan said that Luka and Kyrie best offensive backcourt. Like, oh, that's interesting. And these aren't
Yeah.
backcourts. I get it. Not yet. Like you got to win a ring, man,
Like
or 2.
Kyrie said, if we don't win, it doesn't mean a thing. Listen, we are going to take a quick break. I'm going to let Bill calm down from the mention of Chris Paul's name. And when we get back, we're going to talk Pascal Siakam because he is in the running to get a very big bag, but it's whether or not the Pacers are going to give it to him is the question. We'll be right back.
From the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, is there anyone stronger?
No.
Tougher?
No.
Hungrier?
Grapes was an interesting choice for someone who doesn't use fingers.
Knuckles, now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Beyond the Arc, everyone. Ashley here, Bill here, and the Pacers are 1-2-3 Cancun. But there is still work to be done because Pascal Siakam is an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason. And the Pacers traded 3 first-round picks to get him. His Indiana's payroll right now is ranked 25th in the NBA this season. Now, Siakam was a huge part of the Pacers season since he got there in helping the season be as successful as it was. Now, yes, there's been a lot of conversations about how battered and injured the Eastern Conference was, and if that is something that kind of helped the Pacers maybe get a little bit pushed up further in the playoff rankings. I'm one of those people who believes that. But you can't go ahead and change the outcome of the season. The season is what it was. So looking at Siakam right now, 5 years, $245 million is roughly what he would be eligible to get. If you are the Indiana Pacers, a lot of decisions have to be made. Obi Toppin, some of the other guys. Obviously, guys are going to be getting paid soon. Their contracts are hitting in. Tyrese Halliburton, 2025 is when his extension hits. You have to make some financial decisions. Pascal Siakam, are you paying him or are you letting him walk?
I'm paying him all the money. I mean, look, let's presume that I'm an owner. This isn't always true in Indy. I'm an owner who's willing to spend money, right? I'm willing to invest. There's a minimum, obviously, in the NBA, and now you can go high and you can get punished with various sort of tax levels and aprons. Yeah, I think, Ash, I don't think you have a choice if you're the Pacers. And I think you're right, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make it to the conference finals if the Knicks are healthy. I'll say it for you. You're a Knicks fan. You're just gracious.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, as someone who's just an NBA insider and partial observer on the Knicks make the conference finals if everybody is healthy, even if Randall's not healthy. If you have OG Anunoby and you have Mitchell Robinson, you have all those dudes, Bojan even, I'm not even sure he's necessary. You're making the finals, Eastern Conference finals, and you might be beating the Celtics, in my opinion. So, but the Pacers got there, and you're not going to recruit any. The only way you're going to bring talent to Indianapolis, the only chance is to either draft them or trade for them. Trade for Tyrese Halliburton, trade for Siakam. I think I'm not sure if I'm Siakam I want to stay. I probably do. I'd look around, but you have to pay him, right?
Well, it's interesting because the Pacers have $117 million committed next season without Siakam and Obi Toppin, who is a restricted free agent.
Yeah, Toppin's tricky.
If Siakam gets the max, they would be about $17 million under the tax. Now, they haven't paid the tax in 20 years. So if you want to keep your core together, and Obi Toppin, if he goes ahead and enters the free market, it is expected probably, I think 17 million roughly is what he can go ahead and garner in some way, shape, or form. Do you want to go ahead and then run the risk of having to pay that tax that you haven't paid again in 20 years to keep this team together because you just believe so much in that this year wasn't a fluke? It had nothing to do with how injured and battered the Eastern Conference was. This team is talented. It was just you ran into a very talented Boston Celtics team, a more talented Boston Celtics team, but that's not a reflection of what you can build in Indiana. Or are you saying we need a little bit more wiggle room to make something happen, and we want to do that without having to pay the tax?
So I'm paying Siakam for sure.
On
Obi Toppin, it's interesting because he was a bit of a reclamation project of a kind with the Pacers, and maybe internally, and I don't have the answer. I'll try to find out for a future podcast. Like in Miami, they believe, right or wrong, that they can cycle guys in and their culture and their approach allows them to get the best out of players. And that therefore they can find value, that they don't have to spend on everybody because they can basically rotate guys in at minimums or who are reclamation projects. Now, maybe the Pacers feel like they can do that. Maybe they feel like if Toppin becomes too expensive, and he will, we know that prices are inflated, and you're right, he's going to be offered a bunch of money. Then if I'm the Pacers and I feel like Toppin's success was less about us identifying a guy who was undervalued and more about we brought out the best in him because we have a system and approach and we can replicate that with somebody that's less expensive, then I'm not. But if you think Toppin is special, you have to go into the tax because, and I'm not sure this owner will do that, but Ash, as you know, I'm not hating on Indy. I'm from Iowa. Yeah. But NBA players aren't lining up to go chill at St. Elmo's and hang out at the JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis. They're just not. That's not the vibe around the NBA.
They don't get lit at the JW Marriott.
I've gotten lit at the JW Marriott, but I'm not sure that makes it cool. It might, it might make it the opposite. I mean, are the old
they're throwing sick ass ragers at the JW Marriott?
I mean, they were sort of like weak ass ragers, I think, in my memory. you have to operate with the organization that you have. If I'll lean into your Knicks fandom. If you are the Knicks and you have fixed what was a terrible culture and a bad reputation, and I think Leon Rose has. I think he has. You get a lot more flexibility because there is a wide spectrum of players that will want to play for you.
Right.
True for Miami, true for LA. I mean, you have to have a good organization, but true. Not true in Detroit. Not true in Portland. I don't think it's particularly true in Indy. So, yeah, I think you got to pay a premium if you think Obi Toppin is good enough to keep helping.
I'm glad you mentioned some other teams because we're going to play a little game here where let's go ahead and say Pascal Siakam and the Pacers are like, you know what? This is not going to work. We're not going to do this. The three best teams or the three top teams that have the best odds to go ahead and land him, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, which Oklahoma City, Indiana, kind of the same thing in terms of desirability. It was a place to live. The Memphis Grizzlies, and then rounding out the top five, the San Antonio Spurs and the Sacramento Kings. Now, teams with the most projected cap space this offseason. This is interesting because of the top five, again, that's Philadelphia, Oklahoma City, Memphis, San Antonio, Sacramento. Philly is on the list with $55.5 million. San Antonio is on the list with $21.3 million, and OKC is on the list with $35.2 million. And then you have Detroit with the most at almost $65 million, 64.4 to be exact. Utah, 38.3, and then Orlando with 25.2. So if you are Siakam and it's like not going to work for you in Indiana, and you're any of these other teams, one, where do you think the best fit for him is? And where do you think, even if it's not the best fit, he would rather go?
So you're telling me that if Siakam doesn't want those weak-ass Rangers in the downtown JW Marriott in downtown Indy, where are we hanging next year?
Yeah.
I'm crossing Detroit off the list. Hell no. And that organization's a mess too, by the way. They're a mess. So no disrespect to Detroit. I got a lot of friends from Detroit, very close friends. I'm not sure Detroit's a huge upgrade, right? I'm just, if you're looking for quality life, and you're not going to win. Philly's really interesting. I mean, if you plug him into Philadelphia with Embiid and with Maxey, and Maxey's going to get the max, that's a competitive team. That's a championship level team. You get to stay in the East, which I think is a lot easier than the West. OKC is like, I don't think he's going to want to live in Oklahoma City, but
interesting.
But from basketball perspective, I mean, I'm not sure they need him though, but maybe he's a winner and he played really well. You know what team that I think is interesting? So I'm crossing off Utah. They're not ready yet. Ainge is going to do a long-term rebuild. I'm crossing off Orlando. Maybe I'm disrespecting them. They were really good at the end of the year and they made a nice run. They lost to Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs, right in that 4-5 game. There's no state income tax there. So, it's a lot more money.
I mean, Orlando's not Miami, but it's decent.
It's okay. Are you a Disney? I'm not a Disney person.
I'm not a big Disney girl. I do want to go to Epcot. I have never been to Epcot. I've heard good things. You just go around the world drinking and eating. It sounds like my vibe.
Yeah, but, that's true, but it's more fun to drink just in Miami, having lived there.
You know what I mean? I don't know if I have to go to Orlando to drink.
I don't think you have to go to Epcot. If you live in Indy, you have to go to Epcot.
Right.
To kind of see. Right. That was a shot at Indy. I'm sorry, Indy.
Sorry,
I'm from Iowa. Who am I to criticize anybody? I love you, Iowa. San Antonio I find really interesting. And I'll ask you a question by way of saying I would put them on the list if I was advising Siakam. Is Victor Wembanyama in and of himself now enough? Because the Spurs are not a place that tend to recruit free agents either. They've always had to draft these guys. Is that a place? Is Wemby enough of a pitch that if you're Siakam, you might pair with that? I don't know that he is yet, but maybe.
I don't know if he is yet, but I do think the state of Texas basketball in the NBA is interesting, right? Because the Rockets are going to be much better. They kind of were hitting that surge late in the season and obviously close, but no cigar when it came to, ousting the Warriors for that final spot. The Mavs obviously have figured things out and they're going to, unless something just completely goes AWire or whatever, like they are going to figure it out. They're going to be good next year, rather, I should say. And for a while, San Antonio is kind of the only team right now in that state that's still trying to get themselves more competitive and kind of break through that rebuild that they've been dealing with. It could be cool. And Aaron, our producer, just let me know that Siakam went to New Mexico State. And he says it's not even Indy, OKC, or Orlando. So any
But
of those places might
Aaron's
be an upgrade.
Aaron's from LA. Let me give a perspective about maybe somebody who has. And again, I love where I'm from. I'm not taking shots at Iowa,
Uh-huh.
but I'm from Dubuque, Iowa, and I spent a lot of years in Des Moines, Iowa. And do you know what that does? It makes you really appreciate LA and New York. I mean,
Huh.
it actually, like, Siakam might be like, you know what? I did my time in that little town. That was really great,
My
and I
time
loved
in
it.
prison.
I love you, Iowa. It wasn't Shawshank Redemption. I didn't have to like go through a mile worth of crap. But no, like he might enjoy like a good city.
A team that's interesting on the list of teams that have the best odds to land Siakam, if it's not the Pacers, the Sacramento Kings round out the top 5. And
Mm.
Aaron also let us know that the Kings were close to trading for Siakam at the deadline, but were scared off because they weren't sure if he would re-sign to Sacramento the following year. So if they can't work a deal out with the Pacers, if you're the Kings who were once very interested in him and you know he's looking for a long-term deal, do you kind of spin the block and see if you can make it work this time around?
What a really interesting question, because the Kings are not that different than Indy. They play a really up-tempo, offensive-minded brand of basketball. They are not good defensively. Siakam's
Mhm.
arrival in Indy made, obviously, Indianapolis better defensively, especially at the end of the year. And so I think that change is part of what made Indy more competitive.
Sacramento,
All right,
Indy.
high taxes though. I mean, I'm
This
in
is
Cali. I
true.
got right. Like it's
Yeah,
so an extra 5% on $250 million. So you're talking $12.5 million in cash over time.
it's a lot of cash.
Yeah, I think Sacramento's interesting. I suppose then you start to look at the pieces, and if you're Siakam, it's which team do you think you're? I don't know what he values, but let's say he values winning.
Mhm.
Maybe you can make an argument that if he goes to Sacramento, that they're a better
Mhm.
team, but the path is too hard in the West, I think, right? I think the
That's the
East is just
thing.
so
You
much
would
easier.
be leaving an easier path. And look, this is not to say that the Eastern Conference is not getting more competitive. I think again, this was just a conference that was plagued by injury, but I feel like the teams in the East we're getting more diversity in terms of teams that are at least competitive. Orlando looks really good. The Hawks are going to be better next year. Miami's always in the conversation. Cleveland's going to be, if you can retain Donovan Mitchell, that's going to be a good team. Even if you can't, they're still going to be competitive. The Knicks, you don't
I think they're going to
know
be good.
really what you get with the Nets and what moves they're going to be making.
They're
That's
rebuilding.
always a nothing.
Yeah, they're going to
Nothing.
rebuild.
Okay, rebuild,
I think they're going to
whatever. Mikal, if you want to go ahead and save yourself, just come across the bridge, but that's a different conversation.
rebuild. Yeah.
Listen, we're going to take a quick break, but we are going to come back and we're going to talk the MVP of the playoffs so far. And there's some interesting names and opinions that are being thrown into the conversation. So we'll discuss that in one sec.
The UEFA Champions League final. This is as big as it gets.
This is the final round.
The kings of the Champions League. They are Real Madrid.
This is the battleground.
Dortmund are into the Champions League final.
I can't believe it. We can't believe it. Ain't gonna stop me now. This is the final round.
All his dreams coming true.
Dortmund versus Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League final, streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Beyond the Arc. Ashley here, Bill here. And Bill, the playoffs have been interesting, to say the least. Names and teams that we thought were still going to be in this thing are no longer in this thing. And we're down to the final 3 while we await, or the Celtics obviously be the third team that they're awaiting their opponent. But we're going to talk about the MVP candidates of the playoffs so far and potential candidates that are in the conversation. 2 of them are no longer in the playoffs, and that's Jokic. Averaged 29, 13, and 9 in 12 games. He's actually leading the entire playoffs in wins over replacement player despite only playing 12 games. And Jalen Brunson, my guy Brunson, who gave it everything he could for my New York Knicks, but just freak fractured hand incident that I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. Just basically knocked us out of contention. 32.4 points per game in 13 games. The remaining names are on the list are still very much alive. You have Jaylen Brown, who just won Eastern Conference Final MVP. Love that for him. Jason Tatum, who averaged 26, 10, and 6 these playoffs, but has seemed somewhat inefficient in a lot of games. But luckily, he has a guy named Jaylen Brown holding down the fort. Anthony Edwards, 28, 7, and 7, and also has been shiny when it comes to his defensive efforts. And then Luka, who struggled in the first two series rather, but he's been great in this particular series. And Dallas is actually minus 10 with Luka on the floor in the Western Conference Finals. So although he's been great with all the double doubles, triple doubles, he's actually been a minus 10 when he's on the floor in this particular series. So we actually have a sound that we're going to play from Josh Hart that's going to help us kind of dissect everything that we're talking about here. And Josh Hart actually spoke about this on Twitter recently, just a few minutes ago. So I'll read that after we play this.
And Luka. Kyrie.
I'm telling you, bro.
Luka, Kyrie,
Kyrie's up there.
But I might put over just like impactful. I might put Derek White more impactful than JT. Look at every main play in the last 6 minutes of the fourth to overtime. Every big play he made. He's probably one of the most impactful players because he does just everything on the court and does everything at a very high level.
Well, Josh Hart had something to say about the pushback to that statement 52 minutes ago on X. And he said, y'all realize saying something or someone is more impactful isn't belittling the other guy, right? Leave me out of this, quote, desire to belittle JT narrative. So, Bill, what do you make of that?
I mean, I don't think Derek White is more impactful than Jason Tatum. And I'm not.
Okay.
Look, I think Tatum's great. I just being unwilling to crown him the best player in the playoffs has certainly like garnered some attention from people. I think Jaylen Brown's the MVP of the Celtics, which puts him in the playoffs, which puts him in the running for MVP of the playoffs. If we did it now, though, right? Because I think when we get to the finals, if we go through the finals, it has to be a team that's probably there or close to there. I mean, Jaylen Brown is high on my list. And as much as Anthony Edwards has not played at the same level in this series, he has been amazing to get them here, especially the first 6 games. Like his first 6 games when they swept Phoenix and they won the first 2 at home or on the road against Denver in Denver, that dude averaged almost 34 points a game. So I think maybe it's Ant 1 for me and Brunson 2. And I guess I'm supposed to put Luka really high, but I don't think I think Luka may finish the postseason as the finals MVP. I don't think he's the most valuable guy yet because he's had Kyrie helping out a lot.
Well, this was Josh's top 5 players left in the playoffs. But I mean, I think an argument can be made that overall, is Derek White more impactful than Jason Tatum on the Celtics? Obviously not. Like, let's not be crazy. But I think an argument can be made that in a lot of these games, especially the close ones, Derek White has been more impactful in some of these wins for the Celtics and some of these close games than maybe Jason Tatum has overall. Maybe not in a particular quarter, maybe not down a particular stretch. But if we're looking 4 quarters of basketball, there were multiple games in that Miami series that Derek White was the one just draining threes left and right. The Cavs series also, Derek White was kind of the leader when it came to draining those threes and some big clutch shots. And then this particular series, although they swept the Pacers, remember games 3, games 4, and game 1, the Pacers were leading and the Celtics had to go ahead and come back. Derek White's been a big part of a lot of these. I don't think it's that crazy. I just think maybe the wording of it maybe ran kind of rubbed people the wrong way. But
I think Josh Hart's hiding from what he's saying. Because if it's the top 5 players left, it's 5. I think it's easy. In whatever order, this isn't the order. It's Luka, Kyrie, and Jaylen Brown, and Tatum. Those are the 5 better. Those guys are better than Kat. They're better than Gobert. And they're better than, obviously, the supporting cast. I think what Josh Hart is saying is that he doesn't trust Jason Tatum in big moments. Because to your point, Jason Tatum's the better player. But Derek White has been much better in fourth quarters, in big moments. You need a big 3, huge defensive stops, clutch time, and just like high pressure moments. Because not everybody, many people, Tatum hasn't been very good before the conference finals. Tatum was not,
to say the least. Yeah. Because I mean, 26, 10, and 6 is still very good, but for Tatum's standard
but
and
not in
what
like.
we expect from a Jason Tatum caliber player, it's been inefficient to say the least.
And at the end, I mean, look, I know that he was awesome in that overtime win against the Pacers, but at the end of overtime, I keep bringing this up, but the guy went 8.5 minutes at the end of the fourth quarter and the beginning of overtime without making a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jaylen Brown is the guy that got them to that overtime game. So maybe your guy, Josh Hart, is just pointing out Tatum's amazing, but when it comes to high impact, high leverage moments where things can turn, even Derek White is better than he is.
It's definitely an interesting debate, to say the least. Overall, better player, but most efficient player. But listen, before we close out the show, we're going to give our prediction. All right,
Okay.
Game 5, Minnesota, Dallas, in Mini.
Okay.
Minnesota's not a great home team this postseason. Okay,
True.
so it's not like there's a home court advantage, drastic home court advantage here, like when the Pacers were 6-0 at home, and it was impressive. The Celtics came in and just stripped that away from them. So if we had to make a prediction, who are you going with to win Game 5? Are we getting a Game 6 in Dallas?
I think Minnesota's winning. And by the way, I want Dallas to close it out. Like, I don't care. I'm selfish. I'm down with the series being over. We got a lot of hoops. I'm ready for the finals. Give me 7 games in the finals. Sure, I'm ready for this thing to be done. But I think some combination of Ant's going to be amazing, Cat's going to shoot well again, or one of those 2 stars for Dallas
Role players
aren't going to play as well. Give me Minnesota, Ash.
All right. I picked Minnesota last time, and all my Dallas Mavericks fan friends got very mad at me. So I'm going to go ahead. They're like, no, we want to close it out. Why would you say that? I'm going to go Dallas just because I don't want them to yell at me again. But like
Understood.
internally, I want a Game 6. But I'm going to verbally say Dallas is going to close it out in Game 5. But listen, we are going to go ahead and recap that. Well, I won't, but Bill and John will. That's going to be on tomorrow's show. So make sure you guys check that out. But in the meantime, if you want to check out any of the other things that we did, any of the other takes that we've had, make sure you guys are checking out our YouTube page, commenting, subscribing, wherever you get your podcast, and we will see, Bill will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.